Mr. Edit Man presents. Did you ever have a moment of evil genius that you actually went through with? Oh, mine's evil. My kids were behaving terribly just before Christmas, and before I had time to think, I said, if you do not behave, I'll throw away a Christmas present. The threat worked, but not for long, because they called my bluff. So one night, as I was scrubbing the marker off my walls, I wrapped an empty box in Christmas paper and put it under the tree. The next day, they did something naughty and I threw that ducker away. Not only were they good that December, but every Christmas season since. Not me, but a friend back in first grade did this. It was art time, so everyone was making shapes out of clay. His creations kept getting smashed by the class bully. This stopped after he embedded a needle inside his clay volcano. It went through the bully's hand. Friend got in trouble. It was worth it, he said. I have one very similar to this. Me and a friend would try to build a hollow pyramid every day from Legos before this one kid came in and smashed it. One day we made the pyramid, probably 30x30 at the bottom, completely full, without missing a single empty space in the middle. When he came in and made a fist and tried to smash it, he nearly broke his hand. When I was 13, in what would probably be called middle school in America, I was being bullied by a thuggish twat. Once, I stayed after school for an hour to do a test that I missed. And when I came back to the classroom, I saw that the bully's locker was wide open and his phone was in it. I thought about taking and destroying the phone, but I decided that, instead, I would set a passcode for it. The next morning I saw him repeatedly try to use his phone and repeatedly be told that his password was incorrect. Eventually he threw it against the wall and broke it out of frustration. He deserved it. When I was in high school, during my second hour physics class, I routinely had a bottle of Sprite with me. Every day the kid behind me would wait for me to get up and then would grab it and chug half of it as fast as he could. So one day I took it home and filled it back up with white vinegar and brought it with me the next day. As usual, I wandered off. When I knew he was looking, he grabbed it, started chugging, and immediately ran to the sink and threw up. I laughed my ass off for a while. He had to try and explain himself to the teacher, and my Sprite went unmolested for the rest of the semester. When my cousin was just starting to play football for his high school, the coach would tell the upperclassmen to drink from the underclassmen's water bottles, and most would drink all the water in the bottle. When my aunt caught wind of this, she filled it with soapy water, chili powder, salt and pepper, and other unimaginable things, and warned him not to drink it. After that, the coach stopped letting the kids share water bottles. I was in second grade, and my friends and I would always build the sweetest of sandcastles in the sandbox at each recess. As our recess would end, the fourth graders would be released from their lunch and come storming in. Each and every day, one of them would come flying into the sandbox with one purpose: to kick down our beautiful feat of sand engineering. This happened for weeks. Finally, I became fed up. My army of second graders and I found a pile of cinder blocks down near the woods near our playground. We piled the blocks too high and covered them with sand. Then we took some time to make the structure appear like any one of our standard sand castles. Fourth graders let out. One comes zooming on down, winds up for a huge kick and breaks his foot. I have, to this day, felt not one semblance of guilt. Ducker got his. In college, I was sharing a dorm room with two of my best friends from high school. I love my friends like brothers, but we could be dicks to one another pretty badly. Chris unfortunately crossed a line and unleashed the ducking fury with me when he popped the lock on our bathroom and snapped a Polaroid picture of me while I was on the john one night. He then tossed said photo out the window of our 13th floor dorm room for anybody to find. In the days that followed, I learned to pop the lock on our shower door. It was basically a closet-sized room with only a shower, and also set about getting several pitchers of water to nearly freezing temperatures. Just cold enough that ice started to form on the surface. I bided my time. Eventually Chris went to take one of his weekly spa showers, where he said he cranked the hot water on full and basically just sat under it for about an hour. I waited a bit for him to hit the hottest water temperature, then I rallied the rest of my dormmates, handed out pitchers of ice water, then quietly popped the lock and opened the door to the shower. In hindsight, we probably could have killed him by dumping ice water on him when he was as hot as he was. But at the time, hearing him scream like a little girl and fall down in the shower was well worth it. I ran track in middle school, and I routinely brought a huge bottle of Gatorade to practice. Someone kept on stealing/drinking my Gatorade. I had an idea of who it was, but I never said anything. My mom told me to rub hot peppers on the rim of the bottle, so I did that. After that, no one ever stole my Gatorades again. Your mom is a fiendish woman. Apparently she was involved in a lot of shenanigans when she was younger. She told me about a teacher she had that was horrible to the students. This was in Vietnam about 40 years ago. So beatings for students were allowed. She told me she let all the air out of his tires one day when he would not stop terrorizing her friends. I lived in a very large house. Former frat house mansion. That was being used as a boarding house. Communal kitchen. Bathrooms and entertainment rooms that all 20+ people shared. We were sure which person was eating everyone else's food. But we could not prove it. After work on Friday, one of the other guys and I made brownies with chocolate laxatives. We put them in the refrigerator with a note to not eat them. We took off for the weekend for a hike. We come back on Sunday night to find 1/3 eaten and no toilet paper in the entire house. Everyone thought it was hilarious except the one guy we all suspected of stealing food. The suspected food thief left a passive/aggressive note saying he was also sick of people stealing food, so he upped the ante by leaving rat poison in his food. What? My parents are friends with this couple, whose son is an asshole, but when they'd come over we were expected to play nicely together. Luckily for me this was not too often, because he was a horrible bully, made worse by the fact that I'm 3 years younger and a girl. I remember once, when I was 6 or so, we were playing in the garden when he grabbed me by my ankles and held me upside down over the garden waste pile behind our fence, telling me there were spiders in my hair. Now I have never been one for screaming and crying, but that was pretty ducking horrible. Anyway, he was always a dick to me, to everyone. But I never told on him. Partly because I was scared, and partly because I was a generally chilled out kid and I did not want to be the victim. Show no weakness. One evening, he and his parents were over, and we were getting on well enough for once. Playing Pokemon Red upstairs in my room on our respective Game Boys. Not content with being equals for an hour, he starts boasting about how great his team is compared to mine, how he has way more Pokemon than me, how has beaten the Elite Four hundreds of times and get this. He has a Mew. He spins this huge tale about how he got it from his friend, who went to Japan specially to visit an old man who was the only person in the world who could get you a Mew officially. While I doubt the veracity of this tale, he did indeed have a Mew. He tells me he got it when his friend did a very difficult trading cheat so they could duplicate the Mew. I'm not sure how, but I eventually manage to convince him to do the cheat with me. We go over the rules. The trade begins. And when it is nearly complete he switches his off, and I await the trade to complete. But then it happens. A flash of genius. I switch at the duck off, and then when we restart I have his Mew, and he has a Caterpie or some level 5 shite. He looks at the Game Boy. He looks at me. I think he might hit me. Suddenly, the gravity of the situation hits him, and he launches himself out of my room, screaming and crying and rolling around in the hall. Our parents rush upstairs to see what was going on. She did it wrong. He cries. She took my Mew. Naturally, none of the grown-ups understand Pokemon, so when they look at me, lip quivering, tears in my eyes, the conclusion is obvious. Oh, stop crying, they say. She's just a wee girl. I'm sure she did not mean it. Still screaming and crying, the little shite yells at them to make me do the trade again, but of course there's no sense in risking both our Pokemans or whatever it is. He got into trouble for causing a scene and shouting at me. I got comforted by everyone. A Mew ... and the sweet taste of victory. I was sick of my roommate abusing my Xbox 360. He would play it for hours on end and occasionally leave it on through the night. Then he would get mad at me for shutting it off when I got up in the morning because he had not saved his game. I tried reasoning with him and said to take it easy on such a delicate console. First edition's Xbox 360. Well, anyway, he is not very tech savvy at all, and I like to think I am. So I went into the router settings and blocked all the ports that this box needs to access the internet. When it happened he became extremely frustrated and could not figure out why this box was not working. He could not figure it out and none of his friends could either. I told him that he broke this box from playing it too much. I still continue to rub it in that he broke this box. It was accidental evil. But back in high school I pissed in an empty Bud Ice bottle and set it on the bar in my buddy's basement. A few hours later it was half empty. A friend of mine went to grab it, and I stopped him. And he told me to duck off and let him finish his beer. So I went and played fuzzball. A warm Bud Ice is probably the worst beer in the world. As someone who has had a warm Bud Ice, I'm not surprised he could not tell the difference. So I began to suspect my wife was cheating on me with her coworker. I confronted both and was told I was being a jealous husband. They were just best friends and I needed to understand that. So I befriended him, became his workout partner, learned everything I could about him, invited him to my dinner table, even while I knew he was clumping my wife. Physical violence was often considered, but neither him nor her were worth me spending a life sentence in prison for. I played dumb. He was a bodybuilder and took steroids. He was not incredibly bright and just barely gotten through college. He was working minimal paying jobs while he worked on his true desire. He was applying for the firefighter school in our major metro city. If accepted, it would be a lifetime job for him and a career he had dreamed about since childhood. He talked often during our workout sessions how much it meant to him. Without revealing too much about myself, I have countless EMS and fire depth contacts through my career in healthcare. He also knew I was knowledgeable about medicine and drugs. When he started to ask questions about steroids, I made sure to give him just enough info to have him want to ask me more. I then made sure he started emailing me his steroid questions. Ironically, he used an account that even had his full name in the address. After a private investigator confirmed the affair, I moved my plan into action. So when I was financially/legally ready to leave my wife, I made sure to get in touch with several of the FD officers that sat on the candidate review board. I provided them with the emails showing one of their candidates was using an illegal substance and had lied about it during the interview process. He was in the second round of interviews at the time and was slated to be part of the incoming class as he had done very well supposedly. Needless to say, he was rejected. I used my contacts in the EMS community to make sure he would never be accepted to a major fire depth within a 200-mile radius. He and my wife took my dream of marriage from me, so I took something from them that had just a profound effect. He's currently working dead-end jobs, probably still wondering why he cannot get accepted to firefighter schools. If you are reading this, you made it until the end of the video. Smash that like button if you have enjoyed it. Bam. On screen there should be some more videos similar to this. So either go do something else or watch more videos. That's about it. There is no more here. What are you waiting for, a secret message or something? This is not a secret, but subscribe for more videos like this.